Not all idioms are equal. And sometimes some of the idioms that students use within the IELTS speaking test are just not that great and actually kind of harm them more than they help the student to get the band score they want. Let's just take a look at these examples. You know, it's just such a piece of cake, this IELTS test. I wish that were true. But also a piece of cake, it's just such a classic old idiom. I never use it. I find it boring. I don't hear a lot of native English speakers using it. Therefore, I would not suggest to my students they use it either. However, it's probably not going to do too much harm, but still, I don't really like this idiom. It's boring. Now let's see the other one. I'll just wear a cat and try and impress the examiner. Wear a cat, you know, this is just such a strange idiom that even a native English speaker or an English IELTS teacher like myself got no real idea what it means. I had to Google it. Basically means to pretend to be nice. Now, what I just wanted to illustrate is that not all idioms are equal. I'll say that again. Some idioms are better than others. And I often see students using or even learning from other teaching resources idioms that I would never suggest students to use because they're boring, it's weird, it's too common, and maybe you just never hear a native English speaker use it. So what we're going to do in this IELTS speaking lesson, I'll be talking about 5 idioms for IELTS speaking you should not use. And on top of that, I'll show you idioms, very similar idioms that are better. So I'll give you alternatives that I do recommend. And up first, we'll start with super boring, super common, over the moon. Now, I feel a bit harsh. Over the moon is kind of okay, but it's just boring. And I think there's better idioms that we can use. Of course, meaning extremely happy or delighted. And here's an example with over the moon. She was really over the moon when she received the job offer. It's just fine. It's okay. But it's so common. Can we be a bit more creative with our language? Possibly impress the examiner. Here's the level up. She was really on cloud 9 when she received the job offer. Just slightly less common. And yeah, I don't know. I think it maybe would just impress the examiner a little bit more. Over the moon, it's almost like you expect some students to use this idiom because it's just so common. Next up, we have burn the midnight oil. Now, trust me when I say I have never used this idiom in natural speech. I don't think I've ever heard a native English speaker use it either. However, I see this taught to students all the time. Don't use it. It's weird. Native English speakers do not use this idiom. And it means to work or study late into the night. I had to burn the midnight oil to finish my assignment quickly. Now, I think native English speakers would understand this idiom. Most people would know what it means. Just no one uses it. So, as an IELTS speaking student, you don't use it either. Let's level up. I had to really push the boat out to finish my assignment quickly. Push the boat out. It means to work, study, not so much late into the night, but to work hard. Next up, we have hit the hay. Another one of those idioms that I just always see IELTS teachers exploring with their students. At best, it's okay. People don't really use this idiom in real life. Means to go to bed or go to sleep. And here's an example. I was absolutely exhausted, so it was time to hit the hay. Now, again, you're not going to lose marks for using, say, this example sentence, but you're certainly not really going to impress anyone either. So can we level up this idiom? I was absolutely exhausted, so decided to call it a night. Call it a night basically means to finish, go to bed. Very much the same as hit the hay, but way more common, way more used by native English speakers. Okay, next up we have pie in the sky. Again, it might be more common to older people. It's definitely not used, especially in the last couple of decades. It's not something that's used by native English speakers. Again, often taught to IELTS students. I don't recommend you use this. Basically, something that is unrealistic or unlikely to happen. I thought the university entrance test prices were pie in the sky, so this is more linked to something that's unrealistic. It's not good, really. It's negative meaning. It's unrealistic. Let's try and level up this kind of odd idiom. I thought the university entrance test prices were pulled out of thin air. Pulled out of thin air, unrealistic, hard to believe. A similar idiom in meaning, but something that is way more common in use, guaranteed to impress the examiner if you use it correctly. Okay, the last idiom you should not use is bent out of shape. Again, it's just something that you don't hear native English speakers using, so if you use it in your IELTS speaking test, the examiner isn't really going to be very impressed. It means to be upset, angry, or very annoyed about something. And here's an example. She really got so bent out of shape over a small mistake. Let's level up this idiom. She really got so worked up over a small mistake. Exact same meaning. Worked up means to become upset or angry about something. So there you have 5 idioms to avoid and 5 idioms that you can use as alternatives. One extra key point: don't overuse idioms within the IELTS speaking test. You only need to use them sparingly to show the examiner that you have a good level of English fluency.